I remember some years ago, one chap who was trying to get a mortgage, he was always overdrawn at the end of the month. And I said, why are you always overdrawn? That's not going to be a positive thing when you apply for your mortgage. And it turned out, if I drilled down a little bit to it, what he was actually doing was on the day he was paid, or within 24 hours of being paid, he was actually going to the cash machine and withdrawing some cash before his direct debits went out. So it was like a race in his head, in his mind. It was a race for who could get to that money first. So his relationship with his own money and his own expenditure was, if I get there first, then I can get at it before my direct debits go out. Which is an interesting psychology, bearing in mind that the direct debits had to go out because that was his expenditure. But the consequence of that, of course, was that by the end of the month, not only had he spent what he had earned, he'd overspent. So he was in a situation where every single month, and it compounded, it was a little bit of overspend, a little bit of overspend. 3 months later, significant overspend. So you not only got your head above water, you're actually dropping below the waterline as a consequence of it. So it's about reframing that relationship with money such that you have to accept you've got basic expenses. That isn't what it's about. It's about acknowledging, recognising what are my minimum costs to begin with. So out of 100% of what you generate, there's going to be X percent, which is your basic cost. So you know that's got to come. So identify that, work that out, and then the very next thing, ideally the first thing that you do, is what I call pay yourself first, which is basically put some money to one side. It's the start of the saving principle, which can become the investment principle. In the sense that you can then go, right, I reckon out of the 100%, let's say, set aside 20% of what I generate. It's got to be a minimum of ideally 10, but stretch yourself a bit. So could you set 20% aside so that with all your direct debits, let's say you paid on the 25th of the month, and your direct debits are the 1st of the month. So ideally the 28th, but if not the 1st, that money that you're setting aside for yourself, i.e. for savings, for investments, is moved out of your account. So it goes with your expenditure, not ahead of, or in front of, or race against. That way, it's sorted, it's dealt with. You know it's a minimum amount. What you can then do is start to think about habit forming. So that's your minimum amount that's sorted, that's moved to one side. Your relationship with money then is money head, you've dealt with it. The challenge is the money heart, the emotional element of money, because it's all about what your discretionary spending is during the course of the month. So you've got your fixed costs, which are going to be X percent. They might be 60% of what you generate. Hopefully they're less than that, but let's say they are 60. 20% you've set aside, so you've only got 20% left for discretionary spending. So your emotional approach then to money is about, what do I want to spend this month? What is my discretionary spend? Do I want to go out and do something? Do I want to spend money on food over and above my needs? What I mean by that is luxury food, maybe going to a restaurant, eating out. Do I want to buy some nice clothes? Do I want to do a bit of travel? So all that element is your discretionary expenditure. And as you're habit forming, you might even get to a scenario where you go, I'm going to reduce my discretionary expenditure because I want to set more aside. And then you've got that positive affirmation around, I've set more aside. So as well as the automated element of every single month, there's some money going into a separate savings account, ideally an investment account, that money is sheltered, invested for a long-term basis. You've also got money going into a separate savings account that before you know it, you built up a little nest egg that you could spend on a good holiday or something else. More importantly, you might be saving for, which could be a house, some kind of property investment, or something else entirely.
Sure, and I guess the other thing is, like you mentioned with the first example of the gentleman who's going into overdraft, is having the emergency fund set up first before you even think. So putting that money aside so that you've got a backstop if anything was to go wrong, unexpected.
Definitely. The only people who win with an overdraft are the banks, because they will charge you. All right, you might be able to go 100 quid overdrawn, and it's zero fees, zero interest. Anything over and above that, there'll be a daily fee, some kind of charge or interest that's applied. So yes, if you can build up an easy access account that is semi out of sight, out of mind, in other words, it's not in your main account, it's set to one side. If it has to be with your bank, that's okay, but ideally with another provider, so you don't see it all the time when you log in. That can be helpful if you're developing your relationship with money, because then it literally is out of sight, out of mind, and you've got to do a separate login to find it. It's about the psychology of money, isn't it? But yeah, that then becomes, the emergency fund then becomes your overdraft. So instead of you relying on your bank for the overdraft and recognising that they're going to charge me if I do it, you're effectively charging yourself in lost interest by pulling down from your emergency fund. But you're only doing that in the months when your discretionary expenditure is higher than it ordinarily is, rather than being constantly overdrawn, as we used in that example of the chap chasing the money.
So it's all about putting systems in place
to
sort of help you, rather than doing it when you feel like it. Let's put a system in place, which can be applied across all areas of life, but let's put a system in place so that it's done every single time without you having to even think about it.
That's right.
Very much out of sight, out of mind. So the best way to get started would be to look at opening an investment account.
Standing order. Or direct debit. Take action. It's always the thing. It's all right listening to these types of podcasts and stuff, isn't it? But what action can I take as a consequence of listening? Because that's where you'll really benefit. So absolutely, if you can invest in an investment account, make use of the tax allowances that you've got. So if you haven't got an ISA, you could do an investment account through an investment ISA, set something up, minimum amount each month going into that account, buying a low-cost shares-based fund that's tapping into the best businesses in the world would be the ideal scenario. And that's money that you think, I'm not going to touch that and leave that for a number of years, ideally minimum 5 years. It's set aside.
Amazing.
But you also need, as well as that, so set that up and running, but equally have an amount. So the 20% example I said, if you can stretch to 20% initially, maybe 5% goes into the easy access and 15% goes into the investment account. That would be the ideal scenario that you've got there. Then at least you know you've got some going into your overdraft.
Got it. As it were. So finding that balance is sort of all based on how much, as a percentage, you feel that you can.
Correct. Principles based, but it's personal to you. And then your discretionary spending is the variable bit. So you've still got you've got your system set up which are automated, but it's good to have some variables so that you still feel in control, because you can go, right, my discretionary expenditure might be 20-25%. Some months I spend all that. Some months I overspend and I draw back from my easy access account, but majority of the months I spend less than that and I put a bit more into the easy access account, because it gives you that feeling, gives you that sense of well-being, and I have set a bit more aside this time.
Definitely. And I think it might be easy for people to think that they're becoming less free as a result of putting money aside and having to have money that's going aside all the time, but actually they're probably becoming more free, because that money is, in the long run, is gonna build up to a point where they then can utilise that money in ways that they want to use it. And also from a mind space perspective, in terms of worrying and stressing about your money, it's now to the side, and you can be a little bit more at peace with the fact that you've got some funds behind you.
Yeah.
So I think if there was to be an argument of, well, I'm going to become less free, well, actually, again, we can flip that and look at it the other way around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The guiding principle to focus on with this is rich people save their money and spend what's left.
Yeah.
Now, when you say rich people, that doesn't necessarily mean somebody earning millions of pounds. It could be people earning hundreds of pounds. The guiding principle is recognising the definition of rich.
Mm-hmm.
The definition of rich can be getting control, ownership of your money, and you can be rich by taking those tips and applying them for yourself.
It all starts in the mind.
Totally. Yeah. And think about those variable expenses, those things which actually might be your fixed costs, but they're still optional. So there are some fixed costs which you have to pay. If you own a home or you rent a home, you've got a whole consequence of fixed costs: insurances, council taxes, food, fuel. They all need paying for. But your mobile phone, your Netflix account, your Amazon account, those are all variable costs. You can have as much of a phone or as little of a phone as you want to have.
Yeah.
So, do you want the full Netflix account, or can you cope with Amazon's Prime, where you've got less selection, but you can still watch some movies? Decide what you really want.
Sure.
Have those things if you want them, but recognise that you're not going to be able to save as much.
Yeah.
And if for a period of time you need to go without them in order to set more money to one side, do that. Do it for 6 months.
Yeah.
See if you can cope without it to build up that pot. Then go back to it, or flip between. All of these things are flexible these days, aren't they?
Yeah.
It's not like you're tied in for months and months and months.
Often a monthly contract, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a really important principle, is the idea that you're never tied down to something. You've always got the option to push it on. And I think there are sort of seasons in life where maybe someone might get themselves into a position where they're maybe not in the best financial state. Well, if they can recognise that situation and accept that situation, go, right, well, maybe I'm going to have to sacrifice these things for this period of time to get myself back to where I'm close to where I want to be, then that's a sacrifice that would make sense to make.
That's the time to trim. So you look at your bank account, you look at all those regular payments, particularly the direct debits and the standing orders, and you go, right, what can I trim? What can I get rid of immediately? I can stop the next payment from going out. Trim, releases money straight away, and that can help get you out of a hole or help you to set more money to one side for a period of time, and then you can go, right, what do I then bring back in? Because it becomes that emotional relationship, money heart, it becomes the relationship of that Netflix account is actually a discretionary spend, not a fixed spend. And you get attuned to that and be happy for that.